Okay, welcome everybody here today. My name is Walt from McGinnis, and I'm here with Steve Satow. We're the spokespersons for stopsmartmeters.ca, and we have a release that we're going to give to you today. Effective today, the executive of stopsmartmeters.ca is serving notice on the government of British Columbia of our intention to pursue a citizens' initiative to demand that the smart meter program be stopped. To that end, a database has been set up at stopsmartmeters.ca where the people of British Columbia can pre-register their intention to sign the official petition once it is launched under the BC Recall and Initiative Act. The Liberal government has once again chosen to ignore the democratic process and the concerns of their citizens. To date, 25 municipalities in British Columbia have requested that a moratorium be placed upon the installation of BC Hydro smart meters on all our homes and businesses in this province. Additionally, the Union of BC Municipalities passed a resolution on September 30th of 2011 calling for a moratorium on the smart metering and infrastructure program. The Minister of Energy, Rich Coleman, has ignored our concerns, however, and has publicly stated that regardless of these requests being made by local governments, the program will still proceed as planned. We encourage all citizens who have concerns about these meters to refuse having them installed and to visit our initiative website for further advice and information and breaking news. Thank you.
What is the goal with the Citizens Initiative? If you're successful, what would happen?
Well, we're planning on launching an initiative similar to what happened with the HST. Basically, that was a citizens initiative that wanted to have that legislation recalled, and we're going to proceed in the same manner.
So you have to get more than a certain percentage in every single riding?
That's correct.
How confident are you that that's attainable? I know Vancouver Island has been very strong, but I haven't heard much from other parts of the province.
Well, we're going to see. You know, we've been left with no alternatives. And this is an issue that we are citizens of this province, and you know, we're not prominent politicians, but we've been left with no other choice. The government has decided to proceed without consulting the public, without consulting the electorate, and we have no other option but to try to bring a little democracy into this province.
Mr. Satow, what do you bring to the table?
I mean, like Walt, I believe that there's a complete dereliction of the democratic process here. The government has not consulted with the public. We've given no choice, and they're being mandated a potentially harmful technology and an invasive technology without any concern for our safety.
So I guess one has to wonder what's the impetus. Is the impetus the lack of the democratic process, or the fact that smart meters are considered by many to be harmful to us as citizens?
Actually, those are just two of many concerns that relate to health, invasion of privacy, security of data, and lack of democratic process, and amongst others.
Can you talk just a little bit about that, you know, the security of data? Like, why is that an issue with smart meters?
Well, the only thing I'd like to say with that is that last year the former director of the CIA said that the security of the cyber grid, and in particular the electricity generation system, was one of the biggest concerns in the US today. And if BC Hydro thinks that it is more secure than the Department of Defense in the US, then I think they're slightly misguided.
Because it's a Crown corporation, does that cause difficulties, you know, I mean, in making the link, you know, with this recall campaign? Do you know that under the rules that indeed you can force a Crown corporation to act or not act in a certain way?
Well, in this case, Lisa, it's to our benefit that it's a Crown corporation, because the provincial government has mandated this program, that BC Hydro has to carry this program out. So we do have recourse by going through this sort of an initiative to have that sort of legislation changed.
Strategically, I want to ask you a question. There's two ways you could go. I mean, you could have done a recall on maybe a high-profile, you know, cabinet minister like Rich Coleman, and it would have been a lot less effort than trying to get every constituency in the province to get more than 50% of its people. Like, why did you choose? one strategy over the other?
Well, I would say let's not rule that out. We can always do that. We want to have basically, I mean, the overriding issue always is the issue around democracy. And, you know, even if we are successful with our petition drive and we're allowed to have an initiative vote, it's going to be up to the citizens of British Columbia to decide whether or not they want smart meters. That is our burning desire, is to allow the citizens to have a choice. To recall one minister or another is, in my view, not a bad idea, to put some pressure on them to take some action, but it wouldn't be as an overriding issue for democracy for the whole province. I don't think it would do it.
And do you know how much this campaign is going to cost you to be able to mount, and where are you going to get the funds from? Well,
we're soliciting donations, if you have any. Basically, the success of the campaign will be based upon the donations, and we want to be able to launch a information campaign and be able to use the media, and we have to see what the response is going to be, and hopefully it'll be good enough that we can counteract some of this information that's coming out in the popular media right now that, in our view, is quite inaccurate.
The people that in relationship, because you've compared this and likened this to the Stop HST referendum that took place just this past summer, that for many would say was successful in abolishing the HST. But one of the things was the question. Have you considered what that question may be at this point in time?
We've deliberately steered away from deciding what that question will be for the simple reason that if we lay that down right now, and then we find that the situation changes in the future, we may have painted ourselves into a corner. So actually we're giving ourselves the flexibility to decide what that question will be at the point when we launch the initiative, because, as I mentioned, that could change quite dramatically between now and the point at which we launch the initiative.
But didn't Elections BC have to craft the question for anti-HST as a result of the original application?
I'm not sure how the exact process of forming the question will be, but going back to my former answer, there's no point in us determining what that question might be at this point. It's too early to say. We know that ultimately we want to stop the smart meter program, but how we frame that question will be decided when the initiative, the official initiative, is finally launched.
Can you offer a hypothetical question at this time?
I think I'd rather not. For that very reason, because it will be, used as an example of what we're going to say, and we can't say that at this point.
So when will you make your application to get it officially, on roll?
According to the legislation, a initiative vote can only take place once every 3 years. On September 26th was the last date. We just passed it. So we can't have an initiative vote for 3 years.
What do you do in the meantime?
Well, we have to get our campaign going, of course. We have to formulate what that petition question is going to be, and also what the initiative vote question is going to be. We have a campaign to proceed. Now, anytime in the next 3 years, we can go to the Chief Electoral Officer with our wording for our petition and have it approved, and proceed with a 90-day period of collecting signatures. That can happen anytime up before when the vote can occur.
Okay, so you have 90 days, but you can't have a vote for 3 more years. So what are we doing here today?
Well, we're announcing it. We're kicking off this whole initiative.
But you haven't actually done anything to do that yet, and you're not planning on doing it necessarily.
In fact, we have done something. We've launched a website which allows people to pre-register their intention to vote, and we can continue to collect those registrants, and we can see how many registrants we've got. And when we know almost categorically that we're going to be successful at getting enough signatories on an initiative, we can then launch the process.
What is the address of that website?
stopsmartmeters.ca.
If you can't do anything for 3 years, what happens with the installation of smart meters now? What can be done about that?
Well, the contracts have been signed as far as we know. The Corax is rushing ahead to install these meters, but by the way, they do come out as easily as they go in. we've been put in a very tough spot here. Had we been consulted, had this been proceeded in an orderly fashion, in a democratic fashion, we wouldn't be here today. The problems of we're going to handle taking these meters out and installing non-wireless meters will have to be addressed when it comes about. Now the costs of that, can be quite high, but it isn't us that is wasting the province's money, wasting the taxpayers' money. It's this government that's wasting our money, in our opinion.
So if I have a smart meter that's been put in my home and I don't want it because it was put in when I wasn't home, how do I go about getting it off?
There have been two documented successful situations where people who've had smart meters installed have immediately complained to BC Hydro and have had those smart meters taken out. So there is a process in place to do that. Even though BC Hydro has recently claimed that they're not doing that, in reality it has happened. The other thing I'd like to add to what Walt was saying is that this is the price of democracy. This is what we as a people are going to have to pay to keep our government in line if they're not going to listen to us. And I think that's extremely important to get across to people. It's the government that's wasting our money.